The balloon sagged slightly under the weight of the warm afternoon air, their once bright colors dulled by the sun streaming through the floor-to-ceiling windows of the sprawling penthouse. On the massive dining table, a cake sat untouched, a pink frosting, delicate sugar roses, and a single candle shaped like the number 10. Sophie sat in her wheelchair, her small hands resting on her lap, a paper crown slightly tilted on her dark hair. She kept glancing at the door every few seconds, her eyes lighting up each time, only to dim again. Her mother, Alexandra Hayes, a CEO of a Fortune 500 tech company, stood by the kitchen island, phone in one hand, pretending to scroll emails so Sophie wouldn't see the pain in her face. She had invited every girl in Sophie's class, sent out custom gold-embossed invitations, even arranged for a magician. No one came. Alexandra had told herself it was because of busy schedules, last-minute plans, but deep down, she knew the truth. Children didn't always know how to be kind, and parents didn't always teach them. Since the accident that had left Sophie paralyzed, the invitations had gone unanswered more often than not. The magician packed up early. The caterers left. The penthouse felt cavernous and wrong, like a party that had never happened. Sophie's crown slipped off her head, and she didn't bother picking it up. That was when the doorbell rang. Alexandra opened it to find a man she didn't recognize, tall, with the posture of someone who had spent years in uniform. Beside him stood a boy about Sophie's age, clutching a handmade card with lopsided letters and a single helium balloon. "Hi," the man said, his voice gentle. "I'm Daniel. This is my son, Max. We were in the building for a playdate that got cancelled, and Max heard it was Sophie's birthday. We were wondering a broken bar." He glanced at Sophie's untouched cake in the background. "A broken bar if we could join you." Alexandra hesitated, the reflexive CEO instinct to keep strangers at arm's length kicking in, but then she saw Sophie's eyes. For the first time that day, they were bright. "Of course," Alexandra said, her voice catching. "Please, come in." Max rolled Sophie's chair to the table without a second thought, chattering about how he had tried to draw a unicorn on the card but it came out looking like a lumpy horse. Sophie giggled, actually giggled, and Alexandra felt something loosen in her chest. They lit the candle. Max sang loudly and off-key. Sophie blew it out in one breath, cheeks flushed with delight. Then came a game of Guess the Magician's Trick where Max made up the rules, and Sophie was declared the birthday queen every time. By evening, the two kids were sprawled on the floor, drawing pictures of castles with ramps and slides so everyone can play. Alexandra made coffee for Daniel, learning that he was a single dad, a veteran, and someone who understood what it meant to rebuild after life changed overnight. As they left, Max hugged Sophie like they'd been friends for years. "See you soon, Queen Sophie," he said, waving his balloon before disappearing into the hall. After the door closed, Alexandra stood in the quiet living room, the air still carrying the sound of children's laughter. She realized the day hadn't been ruined after all and had been saved. Not by a guest list or a perfect plan, but by one act of simple, uncalculated kindness. And from that day forward, Sophie never celebrated a birthday without Max. Because sometimes, it only takes one person walking through the door to turn an empty room into a place full of love. The following week after school, Sophia and Max could often be seen playing in the lobby or at the nearby park. Daniel and Alexandra would sometimes sit on the bench watching them, exchanging a few light-hearted words, or simply enjoying the quiet understanding that life had a way of creating unexpected connections. Max had become an expert at turning wheelchair play into an adventure. He invented new racing tracks, came up with ball games where Sophia could participate equally, and made sure she was always included. Sophia, in turn, taught Max how to make paper crowns and decorate mini cupcakes with sprinkles and tiny hearts. Daniel once shared that after returning from the army, making friends hadn't been easy. People would usually just nod and walk past, as if he belonged to another world entirely. But Alexandra and Sophia had somehow found a place in his life without asking for anything in return. One afternoon at the park, Sophia turned to Max and asked, "Will you always be my friend?" Max answered with complete seriousness, Always. As long as we both have balloons. Alexandra overheard and smiled. She thought to herself that maybe this was the rarest gift in life, a bond that didn't depend on contracts or heavy promises, only the truth of the heart. Months later, when Sophia's next birthday arrived, the hall was filled with laughter, colorful balloons, and the sound of running children. Every child was playing inside the birthday queen's castle, a cardboard fortress she and Max had built together, where there was space for everyone.